Good afternoon, guys. Welcome again to our favorite lessons. Only if you didn't know, sorry, I want to say you're one of my favorite classes ever. Grade 10 is doing the pots, and I truly appreciate and enjoy your interactions. If you can master this now, I tell you, your university years are gonna be exciting because it's all about learning and wanting to improve every day. So I thoroughly enjoy working with you. So I hope that we will have more people who would be doing literature, people who would be into reading and writing and doing all sorts of amazing things. So guys, as I've highlighted that last week we were doing paper one, and this week we are doing paper two, which we're focusing on poetry. And next week we will continue with paper three, which we're looking at creative writing, writing essay and short opinion pieces. I'm aware that most of you have been writing to me about your questions, about your clarities, and everything that you want to know. And so thank you for that. And again, it speaks to my excitement that you are such an amazing class, and I enjoy interacting with you. So let us continue, guys, writing, improving our writing ability, and reading more, again, books, and reading more on your textbook or recommended texts that are very important in relation to your syllabus, obviously according to CAPS. So you know my thing of our day-to-day learning. I like to get your reflections on teaching and learning reflections as to in our previous lesson. I'm aware that we had some kind of technical glitches, which seems that today things have gotten much better. So for those ones who were not there yesterday, we were doing what we're going to do today. I decided to repeat it so that we can all catch up. So, what did you find to be very helpful for those that are around or in the previous lessons that we have done? Is there anything that we can do differently? And how can we improve our teaching and learning? So, today we're going to be looking at poetry. I understand I've actually looked through some of your previous slides and what you've done with Mohale, that he took you through poetry, the fundamental basics of what is important when you look around poetry. So today we will be looking at different poems. We'll start with one poem and then we will see how we can unpack it and make sense of that. So perhaps before we start, I want you to indicate to me what are recommended or prescribed or suggested poetry or poems that you are reading at school. Can you indicate to Melanie, and then she would update me as to what are you currently reading or what is prescribed at your school or as part of your syllabus. I'm waiting for the responses.
Hi everybody, just remember that you can use the Q&A, the live event Q&A to communicate, and I'll just
Thomas Danelli. I see that there's a comment here now, composed on Westminster Bridge. Don't know if I spelled it correctly. And then Mark and Romeo and Juliet was another response.
Okay. All right. Sure. Okay, we'll continue. All right. So they can drop me their responses on the email address. I'll be able to get it there.
That's perfect because I've put up the email address and the
Okay.
your handles already on the announcements.
All right. Okay. Let me continue now to the actual thing that we. Okay. Now it's the new screen, right? The questions. Share. Can they see the poem?
Yes, the poem is up now.
Okay, all right. So I'll start. So the poem that we're going to do as an example of what you look at and what are the fundamental things that you do when you read a poem. And again, that will help you to prepare for your exams and for your tests that are coming from when we are back from lockdown. So the title of this poem, it reads as An Abundant Bundle, right? So it reads as follows. The morning mist and chimney smoke of White City Jabavu flowed thick yellow as pus oozing from a gigantic soul, right? It's it's it smoothed our little houses like fish caught in a net, draped in red bandanas of blood, fought fiercely for a squirming bundle. I threw a brick, they bared fangs, flicked velvet tongues of scarlet, and scurried away, leaving a mutilated corpse, an infant dumped on a rubbish heap. Oh, baby in the manger, sleep well, O human dung. Its mother had melted into the rays of the rising sun, her face glittering with innocence, her heart as pure as untrampled dew. Right? This is the poem that we're going to make sense of, analyze, and interpret it. Right. So this is the poem. So now we're going to do the actual analysis of the poem. They see this mail?
I know there's nothing up yet.
Okay, let me share.
There we go. It's on now.
Great. All right. So the title of the poem, An Abundant Bundle. So I know we have this thing that is usually a trend when schools reopen, especially with the Nunu Pies, this thing, My Bundle of Joy. So when you read this poem, um, think of that as a theme or something at the back of your mind. This is just another creative way of engaging with content and engaging with poetry. So it says, every word in the title is relevant to the theme of the poem, which is the dehumanizing effect that these social conditions have on society, right? So remember using the tools that we did in previous about reading text, reading visual images and all of that. So the title in a poem is very important because in the context of what we see in the poem is that there's a dehumanizing effect of the social conditions around society. So, and you see, and here is an indefinite article suggesting that this could be any bundle, not a specific one, right? And also implies that the kind of bundle is a common occurrence in society. As we know, we've read in the news and all of that, that most children being dumped, children being abandoned, and all of those things. So it helps us to go through those ideas. The word abandoned is stronger than the word thrown away because it suggests desertion by someone who should be responsible for it. So this is someone who should be responsible for something and they abandon it. And the word that they use is desertion, right? Again, I want you to expand your vocabulary. I want you to expand on your use of words and how you understand them. Go to the dictionary and study or try the definition of what abandoned means, what abandonment means, what does desertion mean. So bundle is very clear, used in the title because a bundle could be anything, right? Bundle is also things put together hastily. However, babies are sometimes referred to as a bundle of joy. We know this kind of trend, right? I'm trying to, what is going on now with my slide? Something is okay. Share. I'm not sure what is going on here.
Oh, seems like the slide is running underneath the other slide.
Yes, I'm seeing that. I don't know why. How can we work on this? Let me. Yeah, that's what I'm picking up.
Maybe try and refresh the page. Would that help?
Okay, right, probably. Let me. It's coming now.
Not a problem.
All right. Share. Can they see now?
Yes, it's on the screen now.
What's going
But
on?
it's frozen on one slide.
I wonder what's going on. Still doing the same thing?
Just try scrolling to the next one. Yeah, it's still doing the same thing.
I wonder why is it doing this?
Not 100% sure, as it's on a web page.
Yes, it's on the web page. Uh,
Yeah, it's still stuck on the one image.
I wonder what's going on with this image. Let me, can we pause for a minute?
Okay, I can't pause, but I can mute me. We can just mute ourselves. We can try and go on now.
Okay, I can try and go on. I'm trying to look at.
Did you try closing the web browser and opening it up again?
Yes, let me just do that again.
We can all see your emails now.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me. I wonder what's going on. I'm becoming frustrated now. Let me just go to my notes. Still doing the same thing?
Yeah, the slides are running on the back of the other slides.
Okay, let me go to. In the meantime, from what they are seeing, let me just check what can be an exercise while I'm looking at this. They can probably look at these questions.
Okay, the questions are up.
Yes. Maybe first let me go back to put the poem on the screen, and then they can come back to. So this is the poem. So they can just read to make sense so that they can be able to answer the questions.
Not a problem.
Okay, here's another stanza. Okay, moving to the next one. Okay, here are the questions now. Right. Okay. Um, so I'm gonna continue, Melanie, right? Hello? Okay, I'll read from my phone because I did prepare the slides here as well. All right. So what I'm going to read here, it says, An Abandoned Bundle by Mwiseni Oswald in Charlie. So the questions are, again, on top of that, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you see the title of the poem? What is the first thing that comes to mind when you see the title of the poem? What is an abandoned bundle? And what are the meaning of the words and abundant, n, abundant, and bundle? So again, from what you're going to see, where I was going to show, you would see some images, but you'll get the slides or the link that really takes you to that. So in analyzing the poem, let's go back to the actual poem. We're going to analyze the first stanza, right? The morning mist and chimney smoke of White City Jabavu float thick yellow as pus oozing from a gigantic soul, right? So the context is, this is in Johannesburg. Those ones who are from Johannesburg would know where is White City, in Jabavu, right? So what we see, that the flocked thick yellow as pus oozing from a gigantic sore is a smile that signifies the terrible conditions under which the people of Jabavu City lives. This suggests that the society is diseased and the wound that has passed is septic. So like a septic wound, the society is diseased. So that's what that means. It suggests that the city is diseased when there's a level of something that is not right, a level of something that is not okay, and a wound that has become so bad, like a septic wound in the society is disease. So again, read what the word septic means. So White City Jabavu is heavily polluted with rubbish everywhere. Could this be because they are living under the apartheid system? If you think of the Soweto context, if you think of what our old political dispensation, the apartheid history has done, you would understand that, right? And going to the second stanza, right? It smoothed our little houses like fish caught in a net. So the first two lines of the second stanza starts off with personification, the it that you see here, right? That the writer refers to it as smoke from the first stanza that smooths the houses. The poet says the houses, and therefore that inhabitants of the houses are like fish caught in a net. They cannot go anywhere where they are trapped in their circumstances and cannot change their circumstances because people are suffocating under those conditions. We're trying to make sense of this stanza, right? So also the idea of something links to the oppression that these people were under and the fact that they were trapped, caught in a net. So I'll read it again as a matter of trying to explain further. The two lines of the second stanza, the two lines, first line, second line of the first stanza, start off with personification. The it that the writer, right, refers is to smoke from the first stanza that smooths the houses. The poet says in the houses, and therefore the inhabitants of the houses are like fish caught in a net. They cannot go anywhere. They are trapped in their circumstances and cannot change their circumstances. People are suffocating under those conditions. And then we move. I threw a brick, right? I threw a brick, they bared fangs, flicked velvet tongues of skeleton, and scurried away, leaving a mutilated corpse, an infant dumped on a rubbish heap. Oh, baby in the manger. Right. Let me go back a bit to check something. Let me go back. Right. So, scavenging dogs refers to a situation of hunger and poverty. So hyenas are scavengers, trapped, right? We are here now. So trapped in red bandanas of blood, note that. Dogs have been tearing the babies apart and their heads were covered with the baby's blood. They are wearing the baby's blood. So fought fearlessly as we go down. So fought fearlessly means alliteration of F sound that brings a feeling of fierceness and determination. Okay, I'm in the right slide. So there are images in the third stanza. You'd see that it's a pity that on the actual slides that I'll send you again, there's an image of dogs there that are eating from a rubbish kind of thing that is laying around there. And so they say they bared fangs, flicked velvet tongues of skeleton, and scurried away, leaving a mutilated corpse, an infant dumped on a rubbish heap, oh baby in the manger, sleep well all on human dung. So there's an image that relates to that, that has the dogs doing actually that. So the fourth stanza, I threw a brick, they bared fangs, flicked velvet tongues of scarlet, and scurried away, leaving a mutilated corpse, an infant dumped on a rubbish heap. Oh, baby in the manger, sleep all while human dung. So what we are finding here is that they bared fangs. Fangs indicate savagery and horror, emphasizing the savagery of the dogs. The dogs are extremely aggressive, right? Flicked velvet tongues of skeleton. The metaphor, the dog's tongues are compared to the velvet, a very rich, smooth material, which is a direct contrast with the horror of the situation. The dog's tongues were as soft as velvet while licking the baby's blood. Scarlet means reed, which implies that the dog's tongue were sustained with the baby's blood. I'll repeat again. They bared fangs. Fangs indicates savagery and horror, emphasizing the savagery of the dogs. The dogs are extremely aggressive. Flicked velvet tongues of scarlet. The metaphor, the dog's tongues are compared to velvet, a rich, smooth material, as we know, velvet material, which is a direct contrast with the horror of the situation. The baby's tongues were as soft as velvet while licking the baby's blood. So, scarlet in this context means reed, which implies that the dog's tongues were stained with the baby's blood. Again, the stanza continued, right? Leaving a mutilated corpse, right? The baby's body has been virtually torn apart and is now certainly dead. An infant dumped on a rubbish heap, oh baby in the manger, right? The dash at the end that you see, at the end of these two lines, explains that it functions as an aside, in brackets, something that is not important, or parenthesis which indicates an afterthought. The writer writes it so simply that it becomes clear that it is an everyday occurrence. The simple way that the writer writes this is more shocking, right? Again, the stanza, oh baby in the manger, sleep well, all human dung. For those ones who are Christians, the first few weeks of April, we were on Lent and Easter period. So when you think of the baby in the manger, automatically you can relate with the ideas of what resonates with the Christian understanding of Jesus, that Jesus as a baby was in the manger. So it makes a reference to a biblical text, that is, it makes reference to the Bible. And what they call that, the use of a biblical text or biblical verse in a poem, they call it an allusion. So the baby is described as the baby in the manger, which refers to Jesus. Just like Jesus, who died on a horrible death, the baby died at a horrible death innocently. So the fifth stanza, this stanza, its mother had melted into the rays of the rising sun, her face glittering with innocence, her heart as pure as untrampled dew. They, what you see, it's in the beginning refers to the baby. We do not even know what the baby's gender was. The baby is insignificant, meaning insignificant. Again, go and read and compare with what is significant and insignificant. The mother melted away into the rays of the rising sun, her face glittering with innocence. One would think that the mother would feel such guilt for a horrendous thing that she has done to her baby. But she's looking into a new life. Her life would be easier without the burden of a baby. So again, to amplify this, the fifth stanza is a contrast to the first four stanzas that we got, which have a lot to do with dreadfulness, with horrible things and all of that. But we begin to see a different turn now on the last stanza. Hence, the writer of the poem reminds us that it is a contrast of what we have seen on the first four stanzas that I have explained to where we're at now. So this shows what we call an antithesis, a person or a thing which is a direct opposite of someone or something else, between the mother's alarming actions and her clear conscience. She ought to be wracked with remorse, but has begun a new life, guiltless life. The horrific imagery accurately conveys the awful conditions in the poor society and the abominable actions that affect the baby. The poet, note this, wants the reader to consider who is to blame for what happened to the baby. Is it the mother or is it society in general? Go back to the title, An Abandoned Bundle. A smile is used to compare the heart with untrampled dew, right? Dew drops that have not been stepped on make perfect round spheres. So the mother is portrayed as perfect and pure. And pure. She can continue with her life as nothing happened, as if she did not commit a horrible sin. Now, what we then read again, there's the other text that reads as though, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. So the mere fact that Jesus shouted before he died on the cross, again, is an example of an allusion. Forgive them, Father, for they do not know what they do, can be another reason why the author Mchali portrays the mother as innocent in the end. It was a society that stoned and crucified Jesus that could be the reason for the baby being compared to the baby in the manger in the fourth stanza, right? But there are then other audio visuals of what is contained within this poem. So what I wanted you to know is that what you do when you read the poem, it is important to understand the title and to unpack the title as we have done with N, what it means, right? With the abandoned, what it means, and the bundle of joy, abandonment, what it means in this context. The first stanza, what does it mean, right? That's what you do. You try to pull the necessary information that is needed that will enable you to answer all of these questions that have been asked here. So as a matter of your homework, this is what I want you to do. Go back to these questions, answer them, give me some of your responses on the email address that was posted when we started the lesson. Go through these questions. I'll give you some time to go through them so that you can record them.
Anile,
Yes.
some of the kids are asking what the essay due today.
Sorry.
Wasn't the essay due today?
Yes, I did explain to them that in the beginning, that the essays will be very much useful for our paper 3 next week. So for those ones who are done with the essays, they can submit them, but they will be of use next week when we do the actual, writing exercise, reading, for writing different texts such as the newspapers, writing essays, and all of that. So it's an exercise that leads to our lesson for next week on writing. So those ones they can submit it, but the exercise mostly would be effective for next week. So they can submit, or one can actually do what I really encourage, what we call editing your own work that you've written and proofreading your own work, so that by the time you submit your work, it's up to scratch. So those ones who are done, they can submit, but the exercises would be for the next lesson, that is next week. So I want to encourage them to not forget that tomorrow we have our new feature that's coming on the this part. Where is this? Okay. All right, it's on the desktop. Can they see this? Share. So this tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Remember, we are starting our new segment where we'll talk all things that have to do with being a teenager, about the transitions that you're going through. There's a theme or a content that we use to talk about Siagovisha. You can see here things that we talk about at school, dealing with the bullying, dealing with anxiety. I know some of you now are depressed, some feel that they are losers, some feel that they're stupid, and all of those things. So you'd have the chance to interact with me as a psychologist, to ask questions and all of that. So questions can be asked using that hashtag, right? You can DM me. It will be more like asking something from me privately, and then I'll also anonymize you. So with your questions, with things that you want to know about life, we're going to be talking about depression, we're going to be talking about suicide, we're going to be talking about all things that have to do what it means to be young, how to plan for your future, and how to cope well with depression and anxiety. As always, you're an amazing class. I hope that you're going to enjoy the rest of your day. Study well and keep well until I see you tomorrow. Cheers, guys. Bye.